Well, hey, open your Bibles to Proverbs chapter 1. Well, in the 1930s, the world was introduced to a comedic act known as the Three Stooges. For over 40 years, this group was known for its slapstick comedy and pretty much filled with ridiculous antics. It was a show that I watched repeatedly every time I went to visit my grandparents in Alabama. I would pretty much play that on repeat. It might explain a few things about me. Yep, moving on with that one. Yeah, that's right. It was great to watch and still maintains a pretty large following today. The show was fun to watch because, what they did was goofy. It was dumb. It was completely unrealistic. It was fun watching how they could do all of that to each other and somehow survive until the end of the episode, with a new show on, right after. They were stooges. This week, the writer of Proverbs brings us into the middle of town where markets are bristling, goods are bought and traded, and people going about their day-to-day lives. A woman by the name of Wisdom begins to speak and warn them that disaster is coming if they keep living like they are. She tells them that they are living naive lives, ignorant of what is coming. They are scoffing and ignoring the danger. Like fools, they ignore knowledge. They were living like stooges. And what was coming wasn't a new show where everyone was okay, but calamity that would catch them and destroy them. Last week, we began our study on wisdom. We were functioning with this definition of doing what I know I should be doing. It's our definition of wisdom, doing what I know I should be doing. Doing proves us demonstrating. Knowing was internalizing. And then what I should be doing was the spiritual truth that is needed for wisdom. I had someone ask, so is wisdom applied to every situation or is it just spiritual? And what I am telling you here this morning is the spiritual truth that we learn. True wisdom applies and connects in every aspect of our lives. It's doing what I know I should be doing. This week, our lesson is this. Do not choose to be a stooge, which will bring the blues, but choose to schmooze with wisdom's views. Took me hours to come up with that. This week, wisdom is challenging us to not live like a stooge, which will bring nothing but destruction, but choose instead to listen to what wisdom is saying and change your life. So in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 20 here, let's read. It says, wisdom cries aloud in the street. In the markets, she raises her voice. At the head of the noisy streets, she cries out. At the entrance of the city gates, she speaks. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing and fools hate the knowledge? If you turn at my reproof, behold, I will pour out my spirit to you. I will make my words known to you because I have called and you have refused to listen. I have stretched out my hand and no one has heeded. Because you have ignored all my counsel and would have none of my reproof, I will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when terror strikes you like a storm, and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you. Then they will call upon me, but I will not answer. Then they will seek me diligently, but will not find me, because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord. Would have none of my counsel and despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat the fruit of their way and have their fill of their own devices. For the simple are killed by their turning away, and the complacency of fools destroys them. But whoever listens to me will dwell secure and will be at ease without dread of disaster. I want us to just think about this image real quick. And so in no way is this supposed to sound sexist, okay? But from a traditional societal perspective, women are not known to be standing in the street yelling at people to change their ways. It's from a historical standpoint, that looks weird. It's the same here. It was a very rare to have female prophets or female teachers. And here, the writer of Proverbs, Solomon, has wisdom as a woman standing in the street, pleading, in a sense, helplessly with those around to stop what they are doing. Disaster is coming. But you know, like society is, when someone is yelling or screaming at the street, when a homeless individual is standing there yelling and screaming, what do you generally do? You walk faster. You get out of there. You walk away. And that's what happens. Here's a person screaming, yelling, hey, danger's coming, danger is coming. And everyone looks around, well, no one else sees danger, whatever, and they just walk on. Not paying attention, completely ignoring wisdom calling out. Now this whole setup, this is what's fun, is verses 22 through 33 is shaped like something called a chiastic structure. Which you guys are like, okay, what is this? Well, this is one of the catches. Remember we talked about here in your guys' Proverbs study sheet, recognize the different forms of literature? This is one of those examples. See, in English-speaking places and how we're taught in school, when you guys were in third grade and you guys were learning to write paragraphs for the first time. Do you guys remember writing topic sentences? You learned how to write a topic sentence, which had to describe what your paragraph was going to cover. And then you wrote your paragraph, blah, blah, blah. Trees are green. Trees give oxygen. Trees are homes for squirrels. Okay? So your topic was, trees are useful, period. Boom, A. That was like my sentences. That's how we're used to. So when you read a book, you can generally read the first line of the paragraph, skip to the last line of the paragraph. You don't even need to read what's in the middle of the paragraph. And you doubt me, try to read a book like that. You'll pretty much understand it. It doesn't work like that back then. There's this thing called a chiastic structure, which is shaped roughly like this. So if you guys look, they have point A, which covers verses 22 through 23. Point B is verses 24 through 25. Point C was verses 26 through 27. And then as you work your way down, I have C1 is verse 28. B1 is verses 29 through 31. And A1 is verse 22 through 33. If you guys look at your Bibles, okay? I want you to compare 22 through 23 with verses 32 through 33. That is a tongue twister for some reason. So compare them. Just read through it real quick. Just like read through it and then read through the other ones. They sound roughly the same. Same word choice, same ideas, communicate, same ideas. You're like, okay, that's like the topic sentence and the concluding sentences. Okay, so as English readers, we would look at that and be like, ha, this is the most important thing. Okay, I mean, it's not unimportant. What happens is it starts to build here, and then you compare B, 24 and 25, with 29 through 31. So compare those as you guys are reading. And then while you're at it, then compare 27 and 28 with verse 28. See, a chiastic structure is a repetition of similar ideas in reverse sequence. Do you guys see how it works? It builds up and builds down. It's like a pyramid. The most important truths of a chiastic structure are not the topic and the concluding sentences. They are important, okay? But it's actually the middle. This is where the focus is. And so my first point here is going to very specifically focus on this idea in verses 26 through 28. the peak, the point, where he's trying to draw our attention to. It's what's going on in verses 26 to 28. And I'll bring these out. As we encounter these, I'll bring these out. But you guys will see how they form, and they thought they're trying to draw our attention to a central main idea. The writer of this was not an English student. He would have failed. Yet it was Solomon, so he probably would have passed because he was really smart. It's hard to... So look at verses 26 through 28. The imminent disaster. He says, I will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when terror strikes you. When terror strikes you like a storm and your calamity comes like a whirlwind. When distress and anguish come upon you. I want you to think of all those words he just used right there. He literally said calamity, terror, a whirlwind, which is a devastating storm, distress, which is being very frustrated, anguish is pretty much pressure or the idea that you're being squeezed. Have you ever been grabbed and squeezed, by your dad or something? You're like, and then he says in verse 28, he says, help. And this is where it's even gets worse. See, and we generally, when something's bad happening to us, we're hoping that when we call out, someone will answer us. When a tragedy hits, when calamity strikes, we expect to be able to yell help and someone will come help us. But here, you've been trapped and you're squeezed and you're in distress and the whirlwind has caught you and you cry out and it's quiet. Help isn't coming. Not only has something bad happened to you, but no one is going to rescue you. Now, this sort of sounds mean, doesn't it? I mean, let's be honest. We just capture right here, just focus on this idea right here, and just leave it at that. I mean, it's like, I will not answer. I hear them, but I'm not going to answer them. They will seek me out, but they will not find me. I'm like, well, wisdom sounds like a jerk. Big jerky wisdom, okay? That's what it sounds like. Come on. I thought God was love. And God will come and rescue me. And we bring this idea of I thought I could live any way I wanted to and do anything I wanted whenever I wanted to. And since God pretty much is my servant, he will come and rescue me when I decide I'm ready to be rescued. And when we look at this, not from a standpoint of just like a bad thing happens, refusing to help, but from the standpoint of the reason the calamity has hit us and the reason that we've been ignored is actually what he's produced here in verses, look at it, 24 through 25 and 29 through 31. See, the reason that calamity has hit, now we're going to take a step back here and what I'm calling righteous karma. Okay, you're like, wait, karma? And okay, let's see. But look at 24 through 25. He says, this is wisdom saying, wisdom says, I have called you and you have refused to listen. I have stretched out my hand and no one has heeded. So you are in the water, struggling. And I'm like, hey, there's a shark coming. Grab my hand and get out. Nah, I don't need to grab it. Do. Grab my hand. No. Okay. Boat starts to go away. Suddenly you realize, wait a minute. There is danger. Hey, come back. I offered my help. Well, I've changed my mind. It's too late. Well, you're a jerk. No. I'm rescuing other people. I'm trying to save them. This is what happened to you. I have called. I have stretched out my hand. And it says in verse 25, I have been giving you counsel. I've been teaching you and you have ignored it. You would have none of my correction. Been trying to change your direction for so long. And if you look back here at verses 29 through 31 as it goes through, as it works our way down the structure, it says they have, because you have hated knowledge. So I have been counseling and teaching. I have been giving you knowledge. And what has your response been? Well, you've hated it. You haven't wanted it. You've scoffed at it. I've been trying to teach you to fear the Lord, as it says in verse 29. You ignored it. You would have none of my counsel. You have despised all my reproof. And then verse 31, I think, sort of brings why the disaster happens. It says, you shall eat the fruit of their ways. They shall eat it. You will get what you deserve and have their fill of their own devices. See, karma, this idea of what goes around comes around, it's like throwing a boomerang. Have you guys ever tried throwing one of those? It's really exciting the first time the boomerang actually comes back towards you. And slightly scary. Because it comes back at you pretty fast. So you have literally spent your whole time investing in things that are not wise. You have spent your whole life living foolishly and living in a certain direction. You're going to get exactly what you want. So I call this righteous karma. Because what's happening is judgment upon how they've lived. He says, because you have not feared the Lord, you have not honored him with your life, you've despised all the counsel and the reproof, and you will get exactly what you deserve. Ugh. See, Nikki and I used a direction app called Waze. Have you guys ever used that on your phone, Waze? It's pretty fun. It's like Google Maps, just cooler. And it helps us get to our location. Well, at one point, Nikki was trying really hard to get like the ultimate award in the app, which is like 43 bajillion miles driven or something like that. And so she would even use the app even if we knew where we were going, because that's going to keep mileage up, and so we're doing it. Well, one time, it kept telling us to turn right. Like, who would turn right? We're leaving our house. You always go left. And the app was like, turn right. And we're like, no, we're turning left. This thing must be broken. It's like, turn right. Nope, going left, so we turn left. Well, then it's trying to get us to turn around. It's trying to get us to turn off. Well, Nikki and I knew what we were doing. Man, it must be broken. Google, who needs it? So we're driving, get on the interstate. It's like an hour and a half to get out of Tumwater, Lacey, Olympia. We should have listened. Waze tried to give us reproof and change our direction. It tried to warn us. It tried to steer us. It tried to guide us, but we knew better. We did that a second time. And it was in Tacoma. We're not doing it ever again. I mean, literally, if it says take a right at this ditch, we're going. We're just going straight in the ditch. So if you ever see our van in the ditch, just know Waze did that because we got sick of arguing with it, right? It knew where we were going. So that's what happens. So we learned. But that is what wisdom is trying to do. Hey, turn right here. I'm going to go left. No, seriously, turn right. I'm going to go left. Turn right here. No. It's like, hey, he's trying to warn us. Wisdom is trying to tell us, hey, I don't want you to get what you deserve. You need to change directions. You need to change your mind. You need to turn away and listen to my wisdom. Because what's going to happen is disaster, calamity, a storm. He says, choose the fear of the Lord. Change your ways. And as we work our way down here in verses 22 and 23 and 32 through 33, this last one is in essence, don't be a stooge. Don't choose foolishness. See, look what she says. Here's, how long, O simple ones? It's like simpletons. You who are naive. will you love being this way? How long? You ever meet someone who's gullible? I mean, have you guys ever looked up at the words up there on the ceiling? Haha, got some of you, okay? That's what happens. How long will you guys keep living like that? How long will you keep living simple lives, acting like nothing's going to go wrong? Are you going to keep walking this way? How long? And how long will you scoffers delight in your scoffing? And how long will you fools hate knowledge? When are you going to stop? It's like Curly, Larry, and Moe of the book of wisdom, Proverbs. Naive, scoffers, and fools. There's actually a lot of similarities between them. See, and he uses those things. Again, look at verse 32. He says, the simple are killed by their turning away. The complacency of fools ends up destroying them. And then it says in verse 33, whoever listens to me will dwell secure. But if we think opposite, the one who doesn't listen to him and ignores and hates knowledge is a scoffer. See, whoever listens, he says, will be at ease without dread of disaster. My dad tells me this story when I was young. Don't know why, but I really, really, really wanted to touch the light bulb. Okay? As a kid, I was a boy, stubborn, thought I knew better. And I would go up and I would try to reach for the light bulb. My dad over a while would keep it, no, but I want to. I think I was 1. Light bulbs are hot. Did you guys know that? Okay. I'm only reaching. My dad's like, no, stop. But I want to. Stop it. I want to anyway. Ouch. Now, I'm not advocating for doing that to your kid or not. So don't say, I told my kid hundreds of times not to go out into the street, and I just thought it was best to get him flattened. Okay, I'm not encouraging that type. It's what happened with me. And I was pretty stubborn. And so I learned, don't touch light bulbs. They're hot. See, what wisdom is saying is don't touch it. Turn away. Go differently. But I want to. Wisdom's like, stop it. But I really want to touch it. And that's how sin really traps us. See, wisdom tells us, hey, stop. We're like, but I wanna. Yeah, I know. Stop it. But I really want to touch it. We don't listen. And we touch and disaster catches us. And it traps us. And it's such an awesome promise here in verse 33. Whoever listens to me will dwell secure. And whoever listens will be at ease without dread of disaster. The perfect way to escape the disasters of sin is to not sin. Think about it. The way to escape getting trapped in your sin and getting trapped in the disasters and calamity of your sin is to not sin. And that's what wisdom is saying. Turn. Fear the Lord. Turn to him. Do not choose to be a stooge. It's only going to bring the blues. Choose, though, to schmooze and to listen and to embrace what wisdom has to offer. Now, as we conclude here, I want you guys to turn to Matthew chapter 12, verse 42. It's quite a few books ahead. New Testament. What we're going to see as we finish and as we walk our way through Proverbs is how Proverbs really functions as a foundation, as a seed for the wisdom that's coming in the New Testament. If you guys look at Matthew chapter 12, verse 42. This is how we're going to bring what we've been learning here to our New Testament, our perspective as Christians here. This is what Jesus says in Matthew 12, 42. It says, the queen of the south will rise up at the judgment with this generation and condemn it. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. Now, for those who know the history of Solomon, as Solomon became king, and I think many of you guys study this in your community group of questions, his wisdom became renowned throughout the whole world. People would come to him for his advice and stuff. And the queen from Ethiopia came up with riches and the whole gift, and came up and was stunned and floored by the wisdom of Solomon. And so what it's saying here, what Jesus is saying is the wisdom, this queen from the south comes up and she is judging you because she came and listened to the Solomon of wisdom. But listen to this, he says, for she came to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, something greater than Solomon is here. Jesus is the personification of wisdom. When it says in Proverbs chapter 1, you have been trapped in your sin, you have been captured because you are not fearing the Lord. What this means for us today is we will get trapped in our sin and in the problems if we are not turning to Jesus Christ. This doesn't mean we live scared of Jesus. But when it says fear him, it means honor him. Our lives must be one that honors Jesus Christ. And as we honor him, we'll actually find less and less that the sin is as important as it is. And as we close, you guys, I want you to do a little experiment with me, okay? So what happens, I want you guys to get a finger, okay? I don't want you to put it right here in your face. I want you to focus on it, okay? Now, when you focus on your finger, what is everything else around you? It's blurry, right? Okay? Because we're focusing on here. See, what sin likes to do is sin likes us to get focused on it. It likes to draw all of our attention on this. It tries to push us towards it, and suddenly, it just gets bigger and bigger, and it suddenly feels like this is the only thing that matters. See, it's lying to us. It's trapping us. So you guys hold your finger up, okay? I know, I didn't say put your fingers down, okay? Come on, guys. All right, so now what I want you to do is I want you, instead of looking at your finger, I want you to keep your finger up, but actually look and focus at me instead. Now, what happens to the finger there? It looks like there's two of them, right? Okay, but can you see through it? You can see through it, right? So this is what happens. When we focus on what the Lord is doing, the sin in our life blurs out. It's still there, right? Our sin is still going to be there. The temptation's still going to be there, still going to focus at it, but instead, it looks like it's not as important because we're focusing on something more important in the back. So if you guys all look at the screen here, it zooms out. Okay, you guys can put your fingers down. So this is what wisdom is begging to do. You guys have your sin and your problem, and you're so focused on this one thing, and you're so focused on living it. And how silly is it to walk around like this? Come on, how silly is it? It's goofy, but this is what sin does. It traps us. We're like, man, this is the only thing that matters. No. Stop. It's not going to leave. The sin's still going to be there, but focus on something more important in the distance, and that is the Lord. And so in your life, if you're struggling right now with sin in your life, think about it like this. As soon as the sin comes, stick your finger up. Your family's going to be wondering what in the world you're doing. You're like, I am about to just unleash on you right now, but I'm reminding myself with this finger. They're like, are you pointing at me? No. Pointing at Jesus. Okay? Focus. And then stare through it. Use it to remind yourself to stop. Don't get trapped. Don't walk around and live like a stooge, but instead focus on wisdom, which is personified in the person of Jesus Christ.